What's up, folks? How's it going, everybody? Hope everyone's having a good Tuesday. Finally, it's Tuesday! I played with my microphone settings this morning, so I hope it's, everything sounds okay. If anything doesn't sound okay, let me know. But we're, doing something a little different today. I've actually got this multi-streaming. It's, on Twitch, and it's on the YouTube. If you're looking in the corner, I guess, yeah, over there. Nope, I'm backwards. On the side. There it is. Point at the thing. That's going to be the Twitch chat if you're on YouTube. For those who don't know, I stream a ton on Twitch. Not so much on YouTube. And I actually stream a lot of painting on Twitch. So, twitch.tv/tacticaltortoisetv. That's actually where all the T5S2 competitive streams go. And then they make it over to the replay channel if you're not on the replay channel. Then you should go check that out. That's Tactical Tortoise TV, the YouTube channel. There is a link in... I actually don't know if there's a bot on YouTube active, but there is a link in over on the YouTube channel page, on the main page there. It's very quiet. There we go. But I have multi-streamed previously for competitive games. And I ran into a ton of issues. It was, I had ended up with bad bitrate, a lot of lag. It was locked at, I think, 1080 or 720p maybe. It was like, the picture wasn't very good. And that made it very bad for commentary, but I figured I had some extra time, so I reset it up. And I figure we'd do some painting on it and just see how that goes. I'd like to re-engage the YouTube community a little bit. I see Pale Orcs in the chat. What's up, dude? How's it going? Obviously everybody over in the Twitch chat room. What's up? How's it going, everybody? But hopefully that just means that we get extra people to hang out with. So that'll be sweet. But yeah, here we are. This is Harridan. Say hello. Harridan. Hello, everyone. He's getting painted up. And we're almost done with the body. So we have... the running joke is that the only times I paint this guy are on streams, and when I get a business call, I paint him while people are... Well, I'm in a meeting, basically. Don't tell my boss. Oh, no, we're not a focus. Curse you, camera. And so we're basically done with the hatching on the back of the carapace here. What we do need to do is finish off these white bits. I have to do them on this side, and then I have to do the fleshy bits in the mouth. And then, we'll see if I have time to get it to it today, but I'm going to do a wash on the underneath bits of all the white. I might actually do the white over again. It's going to be a little messy now that I have the green done. I don't know. But it's kind of... This is just a spray primer white, so it's kind of gray. And I'm going to do it over and then wash in the crevices and then highlight it again. And one thing I haven't really thought about is whether or not I do these like kind of membranous bits differently, because there's the hard exoskeleton and there's a lot of membrane-y pieces. And that's not something that the plastic kits have, so I don't think I will. It'll look kind of weird if I paint them differently. But, you know, that's where we're at so far. But I'd also just like to take the opportunity to hang out with people, talk about miniature games, talk about 40K, talk about life, you know, all that stuff. I was just editing, before I hopped on today, an Armada video. It was already probably going to be in the works the announcement last week, but I just decided to push ahead with it anyway. But hopefully it's not a total bust, because it's going to be a huge video. I'm pretty happy with it so far. It's like pretty... I don't know. I've put a lot of time into producing it, I guess. And it will probably take me about 2 days to finish. But I went to a tournament, and I'm basically going to talk ground up of the tournament experience, and also do some like introductory... I talk about some introductory rules. Ooh, my brush is all fucked up today. That's not good. Curse you, brush. Some paint got stuck on from last time. Oh, no. Not like this. Not like this. I have to buy a new brush anyway at some point. It's not perfect, but whatever. It'll get better. So hopefully everyone had a good weekend. Everybody is ready to have the remainder of a good week, I guess. Tuesday afternoon. We're almost at hump day. Hump day. Is anybody doing any game playing this week? My white's chunky too. Where did this come from? It is very hot where I am right now, so it's a little awkward. Thoughts on orc lists that are pulling top places in GTs? Why do I think they're doing so well? Well, let me tell you. I have 2 words for you. Those words are Ruckatruck, Squig Buggy. I think that's why they're doing well. I think the Orc Codex is a little bit awkward because I think it's, and I think the community will agree with me for the most part, that it's probably one of the worst internally balanced codexes that has been released so far. And I think there are several units that are very strong from sort of a holistic meta standpoint. I think Squig Buggies are good. I think Kill Rigs are good. Warbikers, probably very good. Daka Jets are probably fine. They're just cheap. But the issue is that, like, nothing else in that book is good. So what you're going to see, I think, are a couple builds coming out of Orcs that are very strong, and then the rest of them are just going to be kind of... they'll sort of live or die based on how those few units in their codex that are super duper strong are going to be doing. And right now they have some good matchups into stuff like Adeptus Mechanicus really has trouble with multi-damage blast indirect fire. Like, Adeptus Mechanicus wants to put bricks and 20 rangers on the table and shoot everything to death with like 40 or 60 galvanic rifle shots at a time with +1 to wound. And Orcs is just like, nah, bruh. Here's fucking 18 strength 5 multi-damage shots to push through the Lucius buff. Get wrecked, and then they blow up. Henrietta just wanted to say thanks for all the TTS tutorial vids. Awesome, dude. I'm glad they were helpful. I have one more 40k tutorial vid in the docket, and I think I'm going to hold off. I just did an advanced tactics, so for people who are in the on the Patreon or the YouTube channel members, for those who don't know, I do a series, and I kind of deep dive really, really esoteric into 40k tactics stuff, and I just did one on the new GT 2021 secondaries, and I want to do a little bit less dense video, I think, for the standard, for the channel about that, and I think I'm going to hold off on talking about Grand Tournament format for a tutorial until I release that video, because I think there's a lot to talk about in the secondary objectives. Had a terrible game against Necrons the other day. Quantum Shielding destroyed your Blood Angels. Oh, no. Well, tip 1, maybe don't play Blood Angels. I'm just kidding. I think you definitely need to bring objective secured against Necrons. The Quantum Shielding's, it's there. It's going to punish, like, sort of small numbers of super high impact attacks. But if you have, like, a large number of relatively low impact attacks, Quantum Shielding doesn't do anything. If you're strength 7, Quantum Shielding is nothing. So, like, kitting for Thunderhammers and stuff doesn't necessarily work. But kitting for, like, a bunch of Chainswords, you'll blow through Quantum Shielding. That is going to be a little bit tough for Blood Angels, though, I think, generally. What's up, everybody in chat? Thanks for joining, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good one. Harridan looks good. Thank you. Yeah, so I was just talking about it, and I'll say it again. I've been painting this guy over on Twitch. We're going to see how right now I'm multi-streaming, so we're in Twitch and we're in YouTube. And right now, we're basically going to see how the multi-stream does for a painting video. Because I used it last season. For the Season 2, the T5S Invitational, I multi-streamed almost all the games, and there were some serious latency issues. It was very bad. So I stopped multi-streaming to the Twitch and the YouTube, so I've been prioritizing Twitch. But I might, for the hobby videos, or the painting streams and hangouts I've been doing, I might end up doing both. We'll see. Mortal Wound Spam, also good against Necrons, 100% chat. It's a little tougher in Space Marines, though, in fairness. If you are a faction that can push out mortal wounds, that's super good against Necrons. They don't reanimate from smites and stuff. It pushes through quantum shielding. It pushes through all the invulnerable saves. Yeah, super duper good. Plus, if you can push out damage on Catan shards in different phases, so like most mortal wounds are in a non-fight or a non-combat phase, right? Either it's like a random explosion somewhere, potentially on the Necron player's turn, which would be bad, or mortal wounds in the psychic phase. That means you can kill Catan very easily. That is like kind of the silver bullet to Necrons, but in fairness, a little bit tougher in Space Marines. Dude, so it sounds cooler for Thousand Suns. Black with gold trim and orange. It's kind of a Black Legion style, right? Or dark purple with silver trim and green. I'm in on dark purple, dudes. That's super magic-y. I guess you could do... I mean, you could just wheel into Volkite Contemptors for Space Marines, right? That's probably like... I mean, that's the way... That's like what you should be doing anyway. But if you're like, oh, I can't beat Necrons, like, I don't know, just take 3 Volkite Contemptors and see how it goes. They deal mortal wounds and they're like high volume. They don't really care about quantum shielding. Like, that's really good. Plus, it's like the 2 damage is 2 damage. An even number of damage is a really good place to be against Necrons. Randomly, because it kills Scarab Swarms in 2 shots, and all of their vehicles are like these nice even values. The Silent King's not, which is awkward, but that's about it. But like, it means 4 converted attacks kills a command barge. It means 7 converted attacks kills an arc. And those are usually the vehicles that you see. It's looking okay, right, chat? I think that's all right. JX Cole in chat, what's up, dude? How's it going? Mortal wounds. Saracon helps a little bit against mortal wounds, but is so much less powerful than Eternal Conquerors. Like, I mean, playing Tyranids, right? Like, I also spam mortal wounds hardcore, and I love mortal wounds against Necrons. But like, if I show up, if I rock up to a table and my opponent is running Saracon, I'm doing a little jig. Like, thank God. I don't have to deal with just these like asshole obsec characters that respawn on my objectives. I hate that. I always die to the stupid Necron obsec, universal obsec. Ugh. The worst. So I'm painting the Harridan. We talked about it a little bit last week. I'm painting Harridan because I have an RTT this weekend and I'm gonna play him. So wish me luck. Currently, the list is undefeated. But in fairness, somehow I've gone first literally every game. I think in only a couple matchups has that really made the difference, but like, it sort of scales at the power level of the Codex I'm fighting. Like, if I'm up against Admech or Drukhari, I have to go first, otherwise I die. And in both of those matchups, I've gone first. But the other ones, I'm not sure it made a huge difference, but I still went first anyway. But yesterday, we played on stream, or Sunday, excuse me. We played on stream against Triple Telemon, and the Harridan one-shot every single Telemon. 1 each turn. Just turn on all the buffs, kill a Telemon, go to the next one. Easy game. And that's pretty gross. So we'll see how it does in a little bit more competitive standpoint. People are really bringing mean stuff these days, though, into even RTTs. I guess when like half the codexes in the game are just these ludicrously powerful like 2021 codexes, then what can you do? But I think there's a lot of somehow a lot of Necrons, ton of Admech, ton of Sororitas, which I think I'm okay against. Because I have Hiveguard. I don't know. We'll see. I haven't played that matchup yet. I broke the curse. Yeah. Now yeah. It's I guess the curse is now I have to go first, even in matchups where I don't want to. Like that game yesterday against the Telemons, I was like, I really don't want to go first. I really want to go second and like make his stuff come into range, into like optimal range, and then I went first and I was like, well, here we go. And then Harridan's like, sorry, dude. Killed everyone. What's up, everybody in chat? YouTube, how do I play it on Dawn of War? So, yeah, we had this discussion during the stream yesterday. The way you play it on Dawn of War is you speak to the TO beforehand and get their ruling on the Dawn of War interaction, and then if they rule against you, then you don't play. That's how that's how you play it on Dawn of War. So rules as written, the Harridan can play in Dawn of War. Because it base measures, it can be wholly within your deployment zone if only its base is inside of your deployment zone, which means that like part of it can extend over the deployment zone. The issue is the stupid GW like clarification that references the dimension of the model, and the question is whether or not that is meant to reference your base size or your hull measurement size if you hull measure, which the Harridan does not, or whether it's meant to reference the entirety of the model. There's no rules precedent for it to measure the entirety of the model because your whole model doesn't have to be inside your deployment zone. Only your base does if you base measure. So it wouldn't make sense for it to measure like the wingspan of the Harridan, but some people rule it that way. So long story short, rules is written, a Harridan can fit in Dawn of War. It just has to go at a very like tight angle. You basically can only go one direction and you can't turn because you'll strategic reserve yourself. But some people rule against that, so you just have to check beforehand. And fortunately, I checked in this LGS and they said it's all good. But that is the story of the weird Harridan deployment chicanery. It's classic GW rules writing. It actually worked before they clarified it, and the clarification made it changed how the rule worked such that the Harridan might not be able to deploy. Ugh. You can also legally deploy it over your table edge as well. Because you can deploy models overlapping table edges, you just can't move overlapping table edges. But because it's an aircraft, it just automatically strategic reserves if you do that. So don't do that. I mean, it's like effectively the same as losing your action. Except you have to deep strike next turn so your opponent gets a chance to screen. We're painting a Talamon, Mr. Runaway Train. It sounds Harridan. Fact. Played a Gosh list the other day. 3 units of boys and trucks, 3 units of war bikes, boss and war bike, knob smasher, table turn 3. Nice. Good stuff. Yeah, the T5 works, especially against Space Marine stuff. Like, there are some factions where T5 orcs is just like, what do we do? All of our anti-infantry strength 4. Fuck. And there's some factions who are like, oh, I didn't notice. So, like, Space Marines, if they don't bring Volkites, are just like, I'm dead, I guess. They're like, there's like an intercessor squad, like, ready to kill some orcs, and then it kills, like, 6 of them and dies. And you're like, oh, shit. But if they're kitted with Volkites, they'll just kill all the orcs, and they don't even care. But those warbikers, man, those are so good. Ugh, it's amazing. Space Marines, if they don't bring Volkites, if we go back in time, yeah, basically. The number of like, so people have been posting in the Discord, !Discord in the chat, by the way, if you haven't joined, come hang out with us. People have been posting their tournament, like results from tournaments and stuff, and just literally, it's just like a parade of triple Volkite Contemptor. It's so funny. Like every Space Marine player found 3 Volkite Contemptors in their closet. I love it. People are always like, it's Forge World though. How many people have them? Everyone. Everyone has them. Everyone has 3 Volkite Contemptors. I played against like a new guy the other day, or relatively new. He's been playing for a couple months, or I think he's back in for a couple months. He was playing previously. And he's just like playing some White Scar stuff with like a bunch of infantry and, you know, some bikes or whatever. And then also 3 Volkite Contemptors. And I was like, you've been playing for like a month. You went out and bought 3 Volkite Contemptors? What are you doing? Playing first real-life game come Sunday. Congratulations, dude. In over a year, yeah. That's been wild. Well, congratulations. I hope you have a good time back in. War table doing a brisk business on Vulcan Contemptors? Yeah. So I have these ones. I don't know what to do with these. I bought these because I was thinking of playing White Scars at ACO. Or probably Wolfbots, actually. So I bought Deradeo Volkites because they're cooler looking. And then I was like, I don't want to go to ACO. So now I just have three dreadnoughts worth of Volkite culverins. Like, what do I do with this? I also have the Cyclones too. I got everything. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to play a Space Marine list. I got whatever that is, 575 points of Space Marines, 425 points, 525 points of Space Marines, just like ready in a bag. No, the bike boss got canceled, Chupa. I didn't order the bike boss. War boss on bike being able to call either wa is pretty sweet. Yeah, I don't know that interaction. There's so many weird interactions in the Orc Codex. I mean, I did a whole video on it that was terrible and nobody liked, but like that, the Orc Codex is a mess. It's so bad. I made a ruling for the server events on the Goffs plus competitive edge combo. And it's like, you have to dive like so deep into the wording of like how attack effects are worded in order to like sort of discern, I think, what the rule is. And the rule's stupid. Like, whichever way you rule it, it's annoying and gonna be like difficult to resolve. So it's like, god damn it. But the way I read it is that your initial attacks will explode or all your attacks will explode with the Goff's subfaction trait, but the explosions can't be retried as a result of Brittlebutt Cunnin, which is like, so you roll your attacks, you explode, you set the explosions aside, or you like have to use a different color die or whatever if you're fast rolling, and then you roll all the wound rolls. They take their saves for specific ones, and then like you retry the ones that they made their saves that weren't the ones from the explosions. God damn it. And then the other ones can explode normally again. So like you can end with like way more attacks than you started with, but you have to do it in such a dumb way. Oh, rules. So what Contemptor for successor chapters? If they don't have chapter markings. I think you can... you can just get any Contemptor, I think. I think there's a generic Relic Contemptor on Forge World, is there? Somebody will correct me. But I think a lot of people just buy plastic. They get the arms, because you can buy the arm weapons separately, and then they get a plastic Contemptor body, and they use that. Death or Glory. Hobby picks in the Discord? Did you put it in painting and modeling? Oh, no, you just sent it to me. Iron Father Pete. Oh, shit. Iron Father Pete's over here sending a... Let me throw this... Let's see if I can throw the link in chat here, everybody. That Iron Father Pete just sent me. Look at this guy. That is a sick Redemptor, dude. That's so cool. He's just killing a whole unit of Terminators? That's awesome. That's so sweet. You can tell they're going to have the if you miss attacks in every book. Yeah, every like close combat oriented book, it looks like, is going to get something like that. Yeah, so there's a plastic Contemptor kit, which is, I think, supposed to build the Contemptor out of the core book, but you can just replace the arms and give it the Cyclones off of the Forge World thing. And the Forge World upgrade kit. The Relic Contemptor weapons are all upgrade kits, so you just get those. And I think you can just stick them on the plastic Contemptor. Hippie Shake, one question about the skin color. so yeah, this one's a little bit different. So right now, this guy, it's just a primer. This is just a white primer currently. But normally, what I'll do is I'll start with a bleached bone base coat. I'll go back over with a dry brush of white. Then I'll do all the other colors over top of that. And then I'll go back over. Usually I'll pick out the high bits with white just to make sure it's stark. And then I'll wash the low bits and then do a highlight. So it's just layers and layers of white with a black wash in between, essentially. Yeah. The spear thrust is perfect, but too bad he feels no pain. He's like, the flesh is weak, that's why I'm a robot boy. Get out of here. Good stuff. So anybody else playing this weekend? Anybody got events coming up? All right. So I've decided I'm gonna do. I've done the smoke, the chimneys, the spore chimneys on other models, like with a fleshy tone on top. So I'm gonna do that here, even though because this is an old sculpt, it's not modeled. So what I'm gonna do is just do a base coat, like a real nice stipple, I guess, of a base coat. I could use a bigger brush for this. I'm worried about overspilling, so maybe I won't. And then usually I go with I'll basically do it like I would be doing a flesh tone. And that's what's up with that. That's what's going to happen. For a while I did, when I first started this army, I did all of like the fleshy bits in green, and it just looked kind of odd. Once I started doing them fleshy, like an actual flesh color, it looked much more realistic. Should water this, I guess. Turns out painting things the color that they would be in real life, or at least like that you have resonance of in real life, makes them look a lot better. By the way, everyone, I'm scheduling my next stream. It looks like I'll have a gameplay stream on Thursday. Should be the next one. That'll be about 1900 Eastern. That's 7 p.m. It'll be late night for people overseas. But that's going to be only over on Twitch, because we have issues if we multi-stream gameplay. So twitch.tv/tacticaltortoisetv. Go follow so you can see when I'm live all the time. We don't have any commentary for this week scheduled because the what's the word? Because there was a delay on pod starting, so we don't have any finals this week, but next week we'll have a bunch. Am I coming to Detroit for the Super Major next spring? Next spring is a long way away, my good sir. Maybe. I could be convinced. I've started, a couple of local places have asked me to do commentary at their events, so I may be traveling more for commentary in the future. All right, so what's next? I think I want to drop a highlight on the on these like bullet holes. I think I want to drop just one accent of green over top on there to kind of pull them out a little bit so they look like a little bit more natural. You want me out as a player? I don't know, we'll see. Well, it depends entirely on how powerful Tyranids are next spring, I think. Yeah, I don't know. It's I think it'll be tough for me to go to big events as a player, I think, in at least the foreseeable future. We'll see. We'll see if, I mean, the game's changed so much in the last couple months or so. Like, a year from now, it's going to be entirely different looking, which is, you know, so it's difficult to sort of plan ahead in that way. But right now, it's like you're sort of going to a big event in order to play against people bringing AdMech. Or, I guess not quite AdMech right now, but it's like Orcs and Sisters and whatever. And that's not quite as fun. At least when Space Marines were the most broken thing ever, you knew everyone was bringing Space Marines, so you could tech for them. But like right now, it's just like people are just going to be bringing whatever was released in the last year, and you're just like, ugh. I don't know. I can't really compete with it. A lot of it's like go first, win. So, I don't know. We'll see. It's an interesting situation for 40K. Kind of ironically, tomorrow is my LGS's 40K night, and we're just planning our Armada. We've been doing Armada just kind of randomly on the same day. And we were doing our planning out games for Armada tomorrow as well. And it'll be like post big deleterious Armada announcement. It'll be probably one of our biggest Armada gatherings in recent memory anyway. Yeah, I think the highlight on the green looks, on the bullet holes, makes them look a little bit more natural. They don't look just like they're kind of hanging out there, getting in the way. Adds a little bit of color to these wide open carapace spaces too. Yeah, I like that. I'm glad we're doing that. Boosh, boosh, boosh. Good stuff. So I have his tail done, Mr. Harridan. The next project after we finish the body. So fortunately, I think for this weekend when I play him, I will have the body and tail done. And then the wings will be the next question. I don't think I'm going to have them done for this weekend, but man, there's a lot of real estate on those wings. Holy crap. That's big stuff. Running Knights, Assassins, and Tempestus list on Saturday? Yeah, that does sound sick. I was just, so I do some data collection for a tournament website. It's Discount Games Incorporated has a tournament page for those who don't know. Kind of a shameless plug here, I guess. I don't get like sponsored by them, but I do help them out. And so if you check it out, discountgamesinc.com/tournaments, I think will get you there. And they have like a searchable tournament list database. And I was going through, and there were several good placements, 4-in-1 placements from IG plus Knights. I think there were 2, if I remember correctly. There was 1 Custodes plus Knights, I know for sure, and there was 1 Scions plus Knights. So it's really good to be seeing the sort of Imperial Guard subfactions and the weird Imperiums, like mixed Imperium lists, kind of doing some work, getting some work done. I think especially once AdMech like anti-tank got taken down a peg, it was nice that that other stuff gets to play in the playground a little bit. Like, Knights just getting killed by las cannons is like not super exciting, but now that the las cannons are less functional, it's probably still fine. Although, man, we streamed Knights versus AdMech the other day. It was pre-FAQ, but there weren't any Iron Striders. He did get the morale immunity, though, which is annoying. And watching Ranger units, like 2 Ranger units, or like Ranger units 2-shot Knights, which was like really sad. Because they'll just go like double shots plus 1 to hit. Boop, you're dead. Fortunately, it's only plus 1 shot now. And a lot of them run away if you do chip damage to them, which is good. Because they don't get 1 CP morale immunity for like the whole army. But it's still going to be a ridiculous amount of damage from those infantry. Which is too bad, because that's actually kind of a unit archetype I really like, are those, like when you stack wound modifiers on something and like wound rerolls and stuff, and you have a little unit of infantry like blow up a big thing. That's one of my favorite things to do in 40k. For a while I was playing Deathwatch in 8th edition, because the 8th edition Deathwatch list was really good at that. You would like teleport, 10 intercessors with ABRs into somebody, and you would give them +1 to wound and reroll ones and all the other stuff. +2 to wound if you're the chaplain, and then you would just rinse a tank to death with some intercessors. And it was super fun. Poor Deathwatch. Now they just play like normal Space Marines, but they're Vanguard veterans have OBSEC. Which, in fairness, pretty good benefit to have. Turns out. It's heavy now, too. So moving and shooting is -1 to hit? No, it's not. What? What are you talking about? This is AdMech we're talking about. They have, like, multiple ways to ignore the move and shoot penalty. Beyond just, like, bonuses to hit, which they have in result, in a lot of. Because they have, they just have an aura to do it, right? That you can pass through a, what's the dude? Who's the communicator guy? Oh my god, I forgot his name. Enhanced data tether. You can pass through a data tether guy. So anybody on the board can be ignoring move and shoot penalty. AdMech don't care about that. They're gonna hit on 2s all the time. And then wound on 5s with full rerolls. Or 301s, excuse me. Good stuff on this guy. Now, I haven't been able to refresh my dark green paint dried up, and I have a couple splotches in here, but otherwise, usually I put a gloss black wash in the corner of the carapace, and I think I would maybe do something on the bullet holes too. But I want to touch up the green before I do that, because otherwise I'm going to wash over and then I'm going to touch it up and it's going to look terrible. Good shit. So I was telling people a little earlier, but I just before I started streaming, I finished recording a huge long video. It's over an hour. The raw recording's over an hour, which means it'll probably end up being like 40-ish minutes about Armada. And it's going to take ages it's super long. It's going to take ages to talk about. It's just a tournament report, but I talk about like a lot of basic concepts and stuff for people who haven't played the game before. I'm super proud of how it's coming so far, and I think it's going to be an awesome video, but also I'm not sure anybody's going to watch it. Hopefully someone does, because I'm really proud of it, but I don't know. We'll see. Messiah, thanks for hanging out in the chat room. Glad you could catch it. What do I think of the new Synapse Link spoiler? Am I hoping for some new minis? Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for some. I would hope for new units. I think the Tyranid, like the mini line, is pretty good so far. Maybe like a plastic lictor kit would be cool or something, but I don't know. I have lictors, so it doesn't really matter. But I think the Synapse Link spoiler is very cool. I hope that it's not... Like, the Broodlord one seems incredibly powerful. Like, I think you take that every game sort of powerful. The other one is unplayably bad. The Neurothrope one. And I hope that they're not that kind of level of power curve. Because that's just not very fun. If you're required to take a Broodlord in every list, and none of the other ones are good, that's not going to be great. But I do like that Synapse is sort of becoming a web instead of just an aura that comes out of some characters. I think that'll be cool. I hope it has other abilities that work like that. So you're incentivized to like play this very, like this kind of complex, very like positional oriented game plan. I think that'd be awesome. So yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic. The spoilers are so far, and I've seen in more places that GSC is getting a release than Tyranids are. I know a lot of people are hoping for a Tyranid book this year. I don't think that's going to happen. We'll see though. I imagine that it's just an addition of rules to the current book, and then that stuff gets rehashed, like maybe sometime late next year when Tyranids get a real codex. But we'll see. Obviously, nothing's been officially announced. It's just I saw like one place that Tyranids were going to get a codex, and then I saw like 6 different places that GSC are going to get a codex. And honestly, I talked about this a little bit, but man, I fucking hope GSC gets a codex. I don't think Tyranids really need it. I think Tyranids are like fine. They're like very much middle of the road. They suck against the new stuff, and they're broken against the old stuff, and whatever. That's just where it is. But GSC is just terrible. I think it is the worst faction in the game right now, at least by win rate. So, like, please, give GSC something. Oh my god. Carapace. Those little highlights look pretty good, I think. Yeah, that came out nice. Maybe they could get a kind of resurrection ability so swarms can keep going. I would hope. Maybe. I mean, that hasn't worked out great for Necrons, so I don't know. I would hope that instead of doing like a resurrection thing, your swarms just deal more. Like they have, they're difficult to kill, and I mean it may be that like spore effects can like persist. So we may have really easy access to -1 to hit. Maybe you could stack that with dense cover, or maybe it is dense cover. I don't know, something like that. But I would hope that like you have like caustic blood just becomes like a faction trait. So like as your stuff gets into melee, like and you kill, so you go in and kill 30 termagants, you eat like 8 mortal wounds back or something like that, right? So like you can kill Tyranid stuff easily, but they always like deal damage to you, because that's the problem with Tyranid swarms right now, and most horde lists in general, is that as you're moving up the table, you're grabbing primary objectives, you're grabbing secondary objectives, you're being annoying, but you're not killing anything, because your army is terrible at fighting. It has bad guns, it has bad melee, nothing can punch through a 3+ armor save. So your opponent is attacking you and killing your models, but you're not scoring any points when they do that. So eventually you will run out of models, and they will still have an army left, and you won't, and you have to hope that your lead is far enough ahead at that point that you win, but typically it's not. So I would hope that like there's a way that you can attrition your opponent's army out using those units. And the Tyranid Codex is just terrible at that right now. Why do they keep making morale type rolls when almost all of them are ignored? I don't know, because they're not very good at game design. I don't know. I think playing Song of Ice and Fire, I think I've like sort of, well, I guess there's a couple examples of where morale systems are done really well. They are very difficult in miniature games to do good morale systems, and very few of them do it. And I think Legion and Song of Ice and Fire are the 2 examples of games that do it very well. Song of Ice and Fire basically has it by triggering morale checks, which are they're basically leadership checks, but they trigger every time you're attacked. So it's like an addendum of damage that you deal in addition to whatever you do. Anytime you deal damage to an opponent's unit, there's a chance that they could take additional damage, which means that if they're particularly brave, they're more resilient against that kind of damage. And if you're particularly scary, you can bank on dealing additional damage with that effect. And I think that's like a really cool way to do morale, and one thing that Games Workshop could learn from. That would make armies that are built around dealing morale damage very appropriately good. This is kind of dry. God, my paint's drying so fast right now, chat. Oh, it's so goopy. I hate it. I need paint thinner. Oh, no. I bought a replacement because I knew this would happen. But also, I don't want to open it. I bet Pure Inquisition or Rogue Trader is worse than GSC. So based on stats, so it's based on win percentage, right? At least that metric. And those factions would have to be played, which they are not. Rogue Trader, you in a 2,000 point game, you effectively can't play it because I think you can only actually make a patrol. So I think you can only fill like 450 points of Rogue Trader. So you can't like submit that as a faction. You could play Imperium with Rogue Trader, but that would be Imperium. That wouldn't be Rogue Trader. Pure Inquisition you can actually do, but I would be surprised if we actually had data on that, or at least a statistically significant amount of data. Like one person playing one game and dropping in a GT, I don't think is relevant. You could make like Aeronautica Imperialis the worst faction in the game if you wanted to do that. You could like submit a list with like registered as Dreaded Amble, and then play like a 0-1 drop and be like, aha, we've created a new worst faction. But also I get ITC best in faction because no one else has ever played Dreaded Amble as a faction identity in ITC. There are so many faction keywords, like you could just keep going forever, right? In 40k. You could be like, oh, what's your faction? I don't know. Fortification Network? Or what's like the... I don't know. There's probably... Unaligned, right? You could just be like, oh, I'm playing Unaligned. It's just bunkers. I just play bunkers. I can't hold primary objectives, so I always lose. But I'm the best in the world at bunkers. Nice. It's weird that the tops of these like little sport chimneys are like textured, but not really. Nice. What are the chances Nids get to keep Fearless when GW has been reducing morale style abilities? I'd say it's high, actually. That's always... Fearless within Synapse has always been one of their... the identifying... the identifiers of the faction. So I doubt it changes. It might be like... It might get... Maybe it just gets significantly... You know, maybe it becomes like reroll morale tests or something, but... I have a sneaking suspicion that it stays around. If it went away and like those big Nid Horde lists were subject to combat attrition though, oh my god. It could be that you use the leadership of Synapse creatures maybe. That'd be very bad though. That'd be a very quick way to kill Horde lists for sure. Like, hey, we introduced blast weapons, and then also you lost Fearless. Get fucked. Yeah, the issue is that the paints are, like, the pots are drying out. So a wet palette's going to help the paint that's in the wet palette, right? But the pots are drying out while they're not in use is the problem. Just because it's so, the temperature is so annoying right now. Horus Heresy has morale-causing retreat movement. Yeah, I actually don't like that. I think it's like, that's too top-down, I think. You'd be like, well, retreat makes people run away, right? When they get afraid. So they should run away from people. And then you have to, like, mechanically define how you run away from people and stuff. And I think that's, like, that's too much people, like, sort of trying to one-to-one game mechanics versus, you know, real life. Like, they're trying to simulate too hard, and they end up just making it kind of silly. I actually like it a lot more when morale causes you to either, like, lose effectiveness or lose models, because I think what's more appropriately going to happen is that like individuals are going to become combat ineffective when your unit is broken, essentially. Like, you know, a regiment of you know, dudes in the Napoleonic War, like, sure, might have, like, broken and run away. But I think in a more modern context, that's not necessarily how, like, morale kind of plays into how a unit functions. I think humans just, like, shut down more than they like get panicked. Speaking of, like, you know, somebody who doesn't really know and is just kind of spitballing. But, like, I'm not sure people just, like, break cover and run away in real life as much. That's a better way to get killed than to continue fighting, I think, is just to stand up and leave, because you're gonna get shot. But I think what happens is that, like, people just stay put. That's the problem. Because they're like, I don't want to get shot. I'm going to stay here. And then they don't go anywhere. And that can be represented just by removing the model, because he's not going anywhere. He's not going to contribute to the fight anymore. If that makes sense. But also, I think Legion is a really good example. So, like, Legion, you accrue suppression as you're attacked. And once you reach certain thresholds of suppression, depending on how well trained your unit is, they can lose actions. They can run away, but if, like, that happens like once every 10 games, because you have to accrue so much suppression, and that mechanic is also kind of a nightmare. But I think for the most part, it's about mitigating, like, it's about mitigating the loss of effectiveness more than it is like stopping your guys from fleeing. And I think that, like, represents pinning fire much more effectively, I think. And I really like that mechanic. I think that's cool as hell. Hated the blast weapons that conveniently missed the 2 brackets that Space Marine combat squads fall into. Fucking right. They definitely built that to not punish Space Marines. Because, I mean, it released right at the same time that Space Marines did, right? It's just like, come on. Artemis Steve, thanks for tuning in. Glad you could make it to our chat room all the way from Mexico. Hope you're having a good one. All right, what's the next step here? I think we do some washes. This is probably gonna be a little bit wet, so we'll hold off on that. I think I'll go over this with the white real quick. I don't want to mess it up though. It's gonna be so really scary. So I actually use an air white on a lot of this stuff because it flows better. So if I'm doing these large surfaces, I don't need to do the thing. I don't need to, like, water it down. It's basically just pre-watered paint, essentially. So for those who are just tuning in and don't know, so I normally stream a lot over on Twitch at twitch.tv/tacticaltortoisetv. So if you're not over there, come hang out, give me a follow. And I'm multi-streaming right now to Twitch and to YouTube because I sort of want to see how that works. And so far, it's been working pretty good. There's sometimes some issues with multi-streaming. Like, I think, although it looks pretty good right now, I'm going to be honest. There is a little bit of a loss of fidelity, and sometimes there's latency issues. It looks like things are running smoothly today. I think we might be a little bit fuzzier than normal. Maybe a tad. Yeah, it is a little bit worse than normal, but that's okay. But it means that we can go both places. That's pretty cool. Yeah, thanks for the follows. There we go. See? Yeah, there you go, chat. That's where these questions are coming from. I won't be doing gameplay or commentary streams to both because that does cause serious issues. So if you're looking for gameplay and commentary, which we do about 2 to 3 times a week, then come follow over at twitch.tv/tacticaltortoisetv. Otherwise, that's where you catch things live, and then the replays are available immediately for Twitch subscribers. Otherwise, you have to wait until it makes the YouTube channel, which is Tactical Tortoise TV on YouTube. That's separate from the main channel, by the way, for those who don't know. If you limit stream output to 1080, you shouldn't have issues encoding. Right, well, that's the issue, right? Is that I don't want to have to limit the output to 1080. The problem is that there's no issues when I do a single stream, but if I multi-stream, then I have to impose limits on it. Otherwise, it creates those issues. Painting bugs also, Derek. Dang, that's awesome, dude. Done with the first 60 Termagants. Yeah, I'm from both a painting, although I haven't painted a Termagant I haven't had to paint a Termagant in ages. From both a painting and a gameplay perspective, I'm glad that the army I'm playing right now is like 30 models. Because oh boy, does it make games faster. I can play a game of 40k in 90 minutes right now. It's fucking sweet. Turns out, Harridan, when you put 30% of your army list in one model, it makes your army really small. I'm excited to see what he does on a little bit more of a competitive stage this weekend, though. It'll be interesting. I am really worried about these Adeptus Mechanicus lists. I think if I go first, I can beat them. But if I go second, it's like, uh-oh. I think I just die. Unless you're playing versus Admech or Sisters. Yeah, that's true. Are there 2 YouTube accounts? Yes, there are. Yeah. Exclamation point replays in the chat will on Twitch at least. I forget if it's active on YouTube. We'll get you to the link to the replay channel. You can also get it just if you go to the YouTube channel right at the bottom. There's a link to it, and that's where the Twitch like all the T5S2 streams go after they go off Twitch. 90 Devourer shots are so fun. I agree. It could be 120 or 180. Excuse me. The downside is that if you play against like 2+ armor saves, they do stone cold nothing. You're like, all right, here we go. Boop, 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 boop. Killed a Terminator. Sick. We're there. We made it. Looks so much better than Matt's Harridan over from Dice Check. Yeah, get stuffed, Dice Check. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, Magikarp and I keep texting each other about the fucking Harridan. Every time a piece of Harridan news comes out, we text each other furiously about it. He's like, so when who was it? Matt Evans at Olympus Games GT won with the 5-0 to GT with the Harridan. We were just like, check this fucking shit out, dude. This is wild, crazy. But I mean, I think GT 2021 has like turned the corner on this thing. I think it's legitimately good now that it doesn't burn a third of your CP just for bringing it, and it doesn't give up Titan Hunter. Well, it does, but it just gives up shit on Titan Hunter. This is basically, you basically don't score secondaries off Harridans anymore, which is crazy. Because like when you consider it's a third of your list, so that means your opponent has 2/3 of your list to score all of their secondaries off of. It's impossible. You will not max any secondary against the Harridan list. It's like so victory pointedly efficient, I guess, and it's good at scoring engage on all fronts. Fortunately, you don't really need the new models for top orc lists. The squig buggy has always been there. Yeah, but is that really a new model? I guess it's an old model, but it's a new outlook on life. It's a glow up. How many orc lists are appearing? I've seen events allowing the codex, but not new models. That is weird. I don't know if I've seen that. There has been some consternation on TTS about that because some of the new models, I think, don't have published base sizes. So people aren't sure how big they're supposed to be. That was a question I got. In person, though, I haven't seen anybody disallowing new models. That's crazy. I guess you could... maybe I guess they don't want to encourage like conversion or like proxies. And so being like, well, they're not street relays, so it's fine. So nobody can play them, which I guess is fair. But yeah, the only real thing you're missing is like, I guess Beast Snaggers see some play, but kill rigs are really good. And then other than that, yeah, it's all squig buggies and stuff. Is there a place to see my list with the Harridan? I can post it. Yeah, I played it yesterday, and so it should still be in my paste bin. Here it is. I will post it in the YouTube. There it is. We'll post it in Twitch too. It's underneath. There's a Custodes list there. That's the one I played against, and it's underneath that. Had bugs for a while, but don't have any big bugs. Is Nid still good without them? Lacking Hiveguard and Exocrines. They are definitely not good without Hiveguard and Exocrines. That's for sure. I think you can get by without the big stuff. Without the Forge World stuff. It's tougher, but you can do it. The issue is that the Codex has no like long range shooting. And I mean like greater than 36 inches long range. So like there's nothing in the faction that contends with like an Iron Strider sitting in the back. So you just die to that. Like if your opponent has like a whirlwind in the back of their table edge, you're like, well, I can't deal with that. That will shoot me every turn. And the Forge World stuff is like where you get those answers. So it's tougher without the Forge World stuff. Mostly because of Hyrule and the Harridan. But it's not impossible. You're just playing kind of a regular game. But Hiveguard are broken as hell, right? So like you'll just play those and hope that you don't hit anything that can fight you from longer than 36 inches. Yours is called Big Harry. Nice. Yeah, my list is called... So it's a list with 4 flying units. It's a gun line list with 4 flying units. And it's also a Tyranid gun line, so it's like not as good as a real gun line. So it's called Into the Garbage Chute Flyboys. Because it's garbage is shooting and has a bunch of flying people. That's the joke. Hiveguard are a crutch for Tyranids. They need a way to not need them. Yeah. So I thought when IAC came out, I thought that this guy, the Harridan, would be the way that you don't have to use Hiveguard. Because what Hiveguard let you do is they let you shoot around corners, right? Like being able to shoot and not be shot back is a really big deal. But the real like bread and butter for Hiveguard is killing things that your opponent would otherwise have safe. And I was like, oh, well, a Harridan can just do that because it's aircraft, so it flies over. But let me tell you, there's nothing better than doing it with 2 different units. But that was also because the Harridan cost 3 CP, and I didn't think you'd be able to single-minded annihilate if you took it. So I was like, well, I'm taking a Harridan because then I don't have to take Hiveguard. But it's better with Hiveguard still. I think you just need better melee options that aren't, like Dimacarons get shot through walls. That's fucking garbage. Hive Tyrants hit like a wet noodle. We just need something to crack armor. Like the faction right now would be really good if like, I don't know, if Hive Tyrants were just better at fighting, I guess, because then you wouldn't really necessarily need to shoot over walls. You could just go fight them. But you don't, so you have Hiveguard instead. I don't know. I'm just hoping for buffs to Hive Tyrants out of the new Codex chat. I'm a die-hard Hive Tyrant stan. Even when it's probably unnecessary. Phil 680 or 867, excuse me. How's it going? Thanks for joining. Hive Tyrants could get a maximum damage per phase ability. I actually kind of don't like that mechanic. Actually, I do. I don't know how to think about it. New Tyranid Codex in December? Yeah, we're just talking about that. I don't think there's a new Tyranid Codex. I think there's a new Gene Stealer Codex. But we'll see. But yeah, I think like the max damage per phase can be like kind of a feel bads, because if your opponent underperforms into you, it's like so bad. Especially if you can heal. I guess they don't heal, so it's not the end of the world. It's probably fine. But honestly, like I don't want that mechanic to be like just like I don't want everyone to just have that. I think it's fine if Hive Tyrants can be one shot. It would be cool if they like went to 14 wounds, so it takes like an additional conversion to hit to kill them or something. But like honestly, they're probably fine. Maybe a little too expensive. I don't think I would be worried about their survivability if their damage output matched their points cost. Because like if you're like, oh no, my Hive Tyrant's gonna die, but it already blew up 2 tanks, you're like, all right, whatever, it did its thing. But right now you're like, my Hive Tyrant's gonna die without doing anything because it flubbed on the T8 thing and it's only strength 7. Fuck. Like, god damn it. This is like, then it's like super bad because you didn't kill something and you lost your piece that's good at killing things. Like they just, like Tyranids just, if they just retained their mobility, lost their range output, but got like way more damage in melee, I think the faction would be cooler and more powerful. And I think that's like, that's where it should be. I want them to retain mobility because I really like it too. It's my favorite part of the faction. We definitely get new rules, that's for sure. Whether or not there's a codex, which is unconfirmed, we will definitely get new rules, and that's exciting. That Broodlord rule, holy shit. That's so good. That's so good. Get wrecked, Manticores. You hit Hiveguard on 5s now, you piece of shit. Get out of here. You lose the shooting war to Hiveguard. Oh my god. Oh my god. I don't, in my Harridan list, I don't know where I fit a Broodlord though. The 3rd Hive Tyrant's like kind of important. I think I have to replace him with a Broodlord, but ugh, I don't like it. I'd like to see Feel No Pain for bugs as a defensive mechanic. Yeah, I would love to see like Synapse just grant a 6+ Feel No Pain or something, and like Leviathan improves it to a 5+ or something, like really powerful like that. I think that'd be sick. Basically old school, just old school Iron Hands. Like that's an ability that has existed in the game, right? I guess not universally. Although the Leviathan buff is still range restricted. So you could just still range restrict it. You could be like, you're a 6+, but you're a 5+ if you're within 3 inches of a Synapse or something. I would like to see that. I would love to see a new Lictor for sure, chat. Yeah, we're just talking about that. I would love to see a plastic Lictor kit, because the Lictor's like, it looks bad. It's dumb as hell. It's hard to find. Like I had to convert them because I couldn't buy them anywhere. So plastic Lictor kit would be sweet. Maybe like some cool options. A couple poses maybe. Have it jumping on people. I should hold off on doing the face because I'm about to wash all this stuff. So let's call that a base coat and do some washing. Nids wouldn't need shooting if they were better in melee, which they should be since they're Tyranids. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, if you could replace Hiveguard with Hive Tyrants that flew over buildings to melee people to death, yes, that's what I want. That's the world I want to live in. New posable models? Yeah. What? Get the fuck out of here. Can you play a Warriors-focused Nid list right now? You can. I don't think it's optimal, but it's certainly, like, you can win with it for sure. Multi-damage weapons are, like, really popular. That said, there is a lot of, like, AP2, especially if you look at, like, AdMech. Like, a lot of their anti-infantry is AP2, which means that Enhanced Resistance Warriors just shrugs that off. They don't give a shit about that. Downside is that a lot of times you want to combine that with cover, and they ignore cover, which is a little bit awkward. So, like, they'll get you eventually, but you'll take a lot of fire to get killed. A while ago, I played, I think, 40 warriors in a list, and it was fine. I wasn't like, this is the greatest thing ever, but I think I won. And I was like, all right, this certainly is a list that I played. Yeah, it's okay. The downside is that warriors aren't really where your damage is coming from. Like, you can combo them to deal damage, but it's always really awkward because like their combos that deal damage aren't their survivable ones, and vice versa. So like you could put them in Chronos and kit them with the big guns and like Symbiostorm with the Warrior Prime and double tap to then explode your 5s on 2 different shots, and that's okay. Like that's the most damage you'll get out of a Warrior unit, but it's not like particularly exciting. How would I feel if there was a new Gaunt kit? I don't know. Ambivalent. I already own like hundreds of all of them, so I don't really... I guess I know I need new Devourer Gaunts. I only have a couple of those. So, it'll be alright. Those models are sort of... They're pretty silly. They look dumb. Paint your lips. The awkward part is that this model clearly has like it clearly has gums on the bottom, but on the top it's sort of unclear where the gums are, and the gums end and like the skin begins, the integument begins. Ooh, we're dripped some. Wash. Little drip. Stop dripping. Fixed. All better. So what I would like to see, I think I've talked about this before, chat. What I would like to see Synapse do is maybe something along the lines of what they're spoiling, but probably a little bit more general, of having like each individual, maybe certain abilities, maybe it tied to particular unit types, or maybe like warlord traits or something. And then you have like a Synapse web, either that's projected from each of your Synapse creatures or that change off your Synapse creatures. And all of the Synapse creatures that are in the contiguous web project the whatever ability they have to everybody inside of it. So you could have like reroll 1s to hit, and it goes across the entire web. And then like reroll 1s to wound, boom, across everything. And then like dense cover if you're 18 inches away, boom, on everybody. So then you can have like this cool wombo combo that does a bunch of stuff. I think that would be cool. Maybe Spine Fist Termagant will be the best competitive options, and everyone has to redo their Gaunts. That was the best competitive option for a bit. I bet there are a lot of players that have Spine Fist Termagants in their collection. I bet somebody has that. Because I think back in 4th, that was how you played Termagants for a while. I think just because it was cheaper than Flesh Borers. I don't remember though. How was building this thing? It was actually not too bad. I brass rotted a lot of it. I think some of the parts are still in my case, but I basically did it in an afternoon. The biggest part was it came with big resin vent chunks, and you have to like saw those off very carefully so you don't ruin any detail. That sucked. But other than that, it was flashlight, and it's literally like 7 pieces. Like the head is 2 pieces. This whole body is a single piece. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 wings and a tail. That's it. That's the whole model. Oh, and the base and the stand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 pieces. 9 pieces. So, and like it being old Forge World, most of it's just like they attach on flat planes. So you just like stick a bunch of glue in there and then hold them together for a while and it sticks. Yeah, it's a lot of large parts. Yeah, it's a bunch of large parts. Can we do an AOS TTS tournament? That's definitely on the table. On the tabletop simulator. Ooh. The issue is that I know literally nothing about TTS. So I can't not about TTS. I know a lot about TTS. I don't know anything about Age of Sigmar. So I can't like act as adjudicator for Age of Sigmar because I have no idea what the rules are. So if somebody was willing to step in and do that, I would certainly organize the event for sure. How many books will we need for all of the Nid rules? You'll need the Codex, the Psychic Awakening, and the Harridan, or the Octarius book. So 3 books. That's all. Plus, yeah, chat. Yeah, somebody clip that, I guess. I mean, in fairness, TTS is sort of an inherently unknowable construct. How does it even work? How do Lua scripts function? I don't get it. Not familiar with units. How much stuff does this thing wreck? Yeah, so here's the skinny chat. It's 34 wounds with a 5+ invulnerable save, -1 to hit because it's airborne, potentially -2 to hit if you have a spore cloud nearby, which you won't, but that's fine. It doubles wounds for bracketing, so you have to deal, I think it's 26 damage to bracket it. Which from the, like, if you're going first and it's on the back of the table, like through toughness 8, -1 to hit, and a 5+ invulnerable save, very difficult. You have to overkill a knight basically to bracket this thing. When it comes back at you, it's 16 shots. They're strength, they're 48-inch range, so you can't really escape. As an aircraft, it'll also see you. They are strength 10, AP 3, flat 3 damage. It has an ability to give itself +1 to wound, so it's strength 10 with +1 to wound. So if you don't have a transhuman effect, it's wounding you on 2s, regardless of what your stats are. And there's a stratagem to make it 4 damage, and then there's a psychic power to explode at 6s to hit, which is mathematically equivalent to getting +1 to hit. So essentially, it's 16 shots, hitting on 2s, winning on 2s for flat 4 damage. It can, if it hovered that turn, it can then charge, and it has 5 attacks at 6 damage apiece. So the like the average damage kills a knight through a rotate ion shields. That's just what it does. You know? Pretty good. Warriors going to be taking more for synaptic link chaining. I think that's going to be a really good reason to take warriors. I think like we'll probably see a unit of 3 warriors replace 10 termagants on a lot of lists. 3 warriors are already harder to kill in a lot of situations. They're smaller, they're easier to hide, and they can punch good in melee. So like, and they're 1 point more expensive than termagants. So there's already like, maybe I take warriors instead of termagants. And I think the synaptic link, giving an additional link in the chain, is going to be really good. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good unit. So the fun trick is, chat, is that you can use Overrun on it. And because Overrun moves you as if it were the movement phase, and it's an aircraft, I do this in a lot of my games, then when it overruns, it can strategic reserve itself, being aircraft. So you can like go up. Usually turn 1, it like hangs back, tries to take as little damage as possible, kill something with a gun. Then maybe turn 2, hovers, moves in, shoots a unit to death, charges something else, kills that thing, overruns off the table, and then deep strikes in turn 3. So turn 2, once you've done most of its damage, it just reserves itself, so you can't fight it. It's pretty dumb. Average, same damage to a knight that a 145-point beast boss can do. Can your beast boss do that at 48 inches away, though? Like, that's the real question. Also, this can't be meleeed. Like, There's a difference there, right? Like, characters fighting in melee always do a lot of damage, but they have to get there. That's the difference. Narrative games, you could use Vigilus until the new codex comes out? That's true. Did Tyranids have anything in Vigilus? They didn't, right? Just the GSC stuff. That's pretty good damage from a beast boss, though. That's damage I would expect out of an orc character for sure. It's pretty weak then. Yeah, it's garbage. In fairness, it's like, it's not that hard to kill. I mean, T8 -1 to hit is with an invuln save is rough, but because the rest of the army becomes so small when you spend 700 points on one model, then, and it being fucking huge and also 34 wounds so you can see it through obscuring. It can't hide physically. There's no way. So your opponent could just shoot their entire army at it. And a lot of times you'll be like, oh, Well, it's like got good stats, right? Like whatever. But even like not range focus armies, when they just like, well, every heavy bolter in my army, I guess, shoots at that thing, they'll do a bunch of damage. Yeah, I mean, it's mostly like fun to play because it's a big, like, you get to blow stuff up, right? Like Tyranids always have had kind of an issue with knights and big stompy stuff. Like Mortarian's a real problem for the faction. And this guy's just like, what's up, Mortarian? Take 10 damage. He's just like, stop it, please, no more. So, like, that's mostly what he's there for. But he's like a big, fun, flappy boy. I don't know. I like him. Waiting for Hormagaunts to be delivered. No models left to paint. Nice, dude. What's a Harridan versus a Stampa? Oh, a Stampa fucking trashes a Harridan. That matchup's so bad. I mean, that matchup's already bad for Tyranids, but I guess it's like whoever goes first, because the Harridan might do enough damage to punch down a Stampa. Stampa have an invulnerable save. Although you don't really take Stampas anymore, right? So you have to convert 10 wounds through. I guess it has an invulnerable save if you put the dude inside, right? Or it's a 6+ invulnerable save, right? So the invuln save doesn't work. I don't remember what the vehicle invulnerable save from the force field is now. So you have to convert 10 wounds through a 6+ save. You could do it. The issue is that if you leave it on 1 hit point, it just kills the Harridan back. So it's probably not good for Harridan. Play on Tabletop released a video today, Matt Rap, with 4,000 point Nids versus Ultramarines. Back when I was a kid, we used to do like nothing but mega battles. That was like everyone would paint their armies for like 2 months, and then we would play one like 10,000 point game, and we would get 2 turns in, and everyone would be tired, and then we would go home. It was the worst. Phil 867. No models left to paint. I mean, that is congratulations, man. That's a big deal. Like they did Mortarian turning up in guns, being like, "Get the dragon." Yeah. Like, a big buzzy boy. Well, we brought a buzzy boy of our own. Oh no. I imagine this thing hovering like operates a lot like a big bumblebee. It's just like it's just a really loud bumblebee. He's shooting at Mortarian. Swarmlord's like, "Bumblebee, stop lubricating the man." Maybe my Harridan should have been named Bumblebee. That's a good name. I'm not painting it yellow and black though. Feels like you have to paint it yellow and black for that. Can't Mortarian fly? Yeah, he can. Let me tell you something he's not faster than, though. Anything in the Tyranid Codex. He flies at like 12 inches, which is child's play. But the issue is like Mortarian also doesn't get hidden unless he's like got an L or something. So the Harridan's just like, I don't know, pew, I'll shoot you. And then Mortarian's like, please don't do that again. He's like, joke's on you, I will. And then he shoots him again, and then he's dead. I think you average 9 damage on Mortarian with this guy. If he's miasmid, it's way worse, but you hit 8, wound 7. He saves 4. No, you do 9 through miasma, unless you spike somewhere. So it's even worse if he doesn't get miasma. And the whole army's high fleet Chronos, so like miasma's really hard too. If you fuck up, you just get killed. Starting overhauling a 20-year-old Black Templar army. Good time to overhaul Black Templars. How about those, what are they called? Pyre Blasters? How about those Pyre Blasters? Can get some intercessors with flamethrowers now. How exciting. Mr. Biochronic, thanks for hanging out, man. Get a good night's sleep. I'm sure we will do this sort of thing again. But also, if you are not on the Twitch yet, follow on the Twitch, because that's where all the actual gameplay happens. So if you wanna watch a Harridan blow people up, you can do that on Twitch. Pyroblaster? Isn't it a Pyroblaster? It's not a Pyroblaster, right? Pyroblaster sounds too cool for Black Templars, though. Black Templars are dumb as hell. They'd be like, no, it has to sound sacrosanct somehow. And you're like, but fire gun. And they're like, no. There's something religious about it. And you're like, oh, okay. Okay, Black Templars guy. Whatever. Based on how GW are making the synaptic link power make sense in the lore, what do I think each model will get? Ooh, that's a really good question. That's one I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure Turvagons get something to buff Gants. Or maybe just small creatures. Maybe they get like a Caustic Blood ability. I'm sure... I think Hive Tyrants, I'm sad to say I think Hive Tyrants will be terrible. I think they're going to be like a leadership buffing ability, and you're going to be like, what the fuck is this? Maybe it'll just be like a 6+ damage ignore, and it'll be the greatest thing ever, but I doubt it. But for some reason, they always like to be like, Hive Tyrants they're the commanders, so they always like get these like sort of generic command abilities. And you're like, but why? What other Synapse creatures do we have? I wonder if the more generic units, like the non-characters, will get them. Like, what is a Maliceptor going to have? Ooh. Maybe Maliceptors get Encephalic Diffusion as a synaptic link trait. Could you imagine? Oh my god. No, you can't do that. It's just Encephalic Diffusion every turn on whenever is going to be most importantly impacted by it. Oh my god. Oh, no, you can't do that. Maybe Maliceptors buff, like, psychic powers or something. That'd be cool, actually. Maybe they give something +1 to cast. That'd be sick. No, I'm in on that now, actually. Salamanders will get jealous and call their unit a Pyroblaster. I did think it was weird when it got spoiled, because I'm like, salamanders have a lot of pyre things, right? Like, they have used pyre as an adjective in salamander units, right? Like, am I wrong about that? It seems like they do all the time. Got Flamers and Black Templars, just had to wait 20 years to get them to punch. I'm sorry, Phil, I'm not sure what that means. I wonder why I called it Harridan. Yeah, he's Harridan the Harridan. Yeah, you're like, what about, why? That model not only does it not look like a Dan, but it's also in no way hairy. That makes no sense. Look at this idiot YouTuber over here. Maliceptor should spread extra powerful shadow in the warp. Make Psychers cry. No, I don't want that. I don't want that, though. Because, like, then you have to pay points for it, even though your opponent might not have any Psychers. And then you're like, nah. What else? JFYT, thanks for hanging out, dude. Hope you have a good day at work. And, yeah, glad you could come hang out. All right, I'm going to pop off for about less than a minute, chat. I will be back momentarily. Give me 1 sec. I'm going to go grab a drink. We're back, chat. Eventually Dante will become Primaris. The takeover is complete. Maybe. Won't he die? Isn't that guy, like, mad old? Alphazor, I have to do some chores for a pod game. Good luck in your pod game, Alphazor. What's the matchup? Tell us. Pod game's going strong right now, by the way. Pod's looking up. I'm excited. There's a little bit. They're a little quiet when the season ticked over to season 4, but now they're looking good. Get some good games out of them too. It was cool to see, even though in our last stream, like Knights got totally bamboozled by Adeptus Mechanicus. It was cool to see them sort of give it a run for its money. An interesting Ultramarine list. That's awesome. Hootie Hoot, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. We're just doing some painting today. I'm painting the tongue of a Harridan. You know, something that you do basically every day. It's just a normal occurrence. Alright, that's good enough, whatever. I'd like to see a stratagem you could use with zone throws. Makes them get auto double 6s to cast. So they super smite, but they also automatically perils. That'd be fun. Yeah, it would be interesting, like, based on how other factions have gotten interesting psychic buffs, and Tyranids being, like, the 3rd or 4th, like, big psychic faction, it'll be interesting to see if they get anything particularly special. I hope they do. Like, Grey Knights they can multicast a lot of their spells. Thousand Suns get their, like, super cool Cabal mechanic. And, I would like to see, Tyranids get something sweet. The JX school. I too regularly paint tongues. That's a normal thing for people to say. Knights need some rolls to help them being screwed by terrain. I agree. Honestly, chat, why can't vehicles go through breachable terrain? If anything, vehicles should be able to go through breachable terrain more easily than infantry. At least tanks, right? They should, like, tank keyword stuff and then let it go through. Or maybe not. I don't know. Like, maybe different kind of vehicles could ignore different kinds of terrain. Like walkers, like the reason you have walkers, like their reason to be is so that you can ignore, like, difficult terrain, right? So you can go up, like, broken and staggered terrain. So, like, make a walker keyword that goes through difficult and, like, steps over obstacles or something. I don't fucking know. And then have, like, tanks go through breachable, and then have, you know, flying vehicles already do everything, so who cares? I don't know what other kinds of vehicles you would make. A car gets extra distance on roads. Remember when that used to be a mechanic, chat? Is anybody here from the days when roads were a terrain feature on the table that used to give you an additional movement for vehicles? God damn. Do that again. One thing I remember people really praised Guild Ball for was giving beneficial bonuses to terrain. So, like, there's cover, obviously, right? Like, every game has cover, and then there's, like, difficult ground. Every game has some sort of difficult ground or dangerous ground. But Guild Ball had, like, terrain that would speed you up. They had, like, oil slicks that you could, like, skate on. Like, I don't know, that stuff's kind of cool. Do that. I think, I think the way vehicles, and especially big, like, Lords of War, interact with terrain is, like, sort of really sad right now. They should just ignore terrain under 3 inches tall. Yeah. Instead of just the difficult terrain thing. Yeah. I agree. Honestly, Knights should just ignore terrain, like, full stop, right? Like, you should have to be able to move over it, right? But why is, Like, what is the terrain feature that a knight, like, would be stopped by? Like, what are people worried about, like, it breaking immersion that a knight wouldn't be able to move through terrain? Like, I don't get it. Somebody help me out here. Like, a skyscraper? Who plays skyscrapers in 40K? First question of the day. The other question being, it'll just punch through. It's Pacific Rim, like, whatever. Who cares? Andrew Strange, thanks for hanging out. Miss Guild Ball so much, yeah. I missed the days of Guild Ball, but mostly because I was playing War Machine at the time, and War Machine was great at that point. But I was, I wasn't appreciative that Guild Ball kept poaching all my War Machine friends. That was annoying. Have knights ignore L-shaped terrain. Just L, just a terrain shaped like an L. Is it an uppercase or lowercase L, though? That's the question. But, like, would they even dominate? Like, I'm not even sure that would change their, like, win rate that much. I think it would just make them more viable. Because, like, they still have a huge-ass base. You can still body block them out from being able to engage you through walls. I also think that they should, maybe in addition or maybe in place of, I think that they should measure engagement range. They should give other terrain, like, defense line when they're fighting through it. Like, they should have a 2-inch engagement range off of a wall. It's really stupid when, like, a huge, giant fucking robot or a big monster or whatever gets stuck because there's a wall and there's, like, one guy who's like, yeah, you can't get me. And this, like, a knight should just, like, here's Johnny, that guy, right? Like, just hit it with an axe. Hit the wall with an axe. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things they could do to make knights less of a pain to play. And honestly, just, like, make 40K less of an annoying game to play around terrain. I don't know. Poly principle of painting Drukhari right now? Because you want to win games? That's a good way to do it. Just play Drukhari and go first. Easy peasy. Bring back difficult terrain tests for vehicles. No. No, I don't like terrain tests. Just make terrain do a thing. Yeah, that's true, chat, right? Dawn of War 3 had them literally walking through walls. That's fair. Absolutely. Like, like, it's called breachable terrain. Are you telling me like a 3-story foot tall war machine can't breach through that tiny wall? What the hell? Big brain, I'm painting so slow, so I'm painting a jet fighter for when there are new rules and it's going to be the most OP unit. That is big brain. That's a good call. That's strong. You're like, all right, when the new Drukhari Codex comes out in 2024, I'll be ready. It's so funny to consider, like, 40K metas of, like, just not even that long ago, because, like, how long ago was it that we were like, Drukhari's just so bad, they really need something to, like, help them, like, do better sort of competitively, and now we're like, Drukhari, please fucking stop. We didn't really mean it that way. The 40K meta, like, shifts so quick, so fast. So I'm not super happy about how this turned out, but I think that's just kind of how it's going to be because of the weird texture on these bits. It ended up kind of looking like it was glowing. I guess in order to do that, I would have had to highlight around the edges, but it's whatever. I think we'll just stick with it for now. I will do some teeth, though. Painting terrain because I hate myself. Aw. Painting terrain because it's super useful. At least terrain to get to dry brush a lot. That's kind of fun. I painted a bunch of terrain for Breach Storm that was like took ages, but I sort of enjoy doing it because it was it's very cathartic sometimes. Had a Skitarii horde for 8th edition. People laughed when I told them it was 200 Rangers. Not laughing now. Skitarii Horde player from... Look at her now. That's a clickbait article, if I ever saw one. This thing's so awkward to not have to hold when you paint. It does, the body itself does weigh like 2 or 3 pounds, which means that it's very annoying to hold because you can't just like hold it from a little end or whatever like you would a plastic bottle. You really have to hold it from the center because otherwise it'll fall over on you. I think I was mostly dreading painting it because of just sort of the annoying logistics of having to paint it. I don't like handling my models when I paint them. I like holding them by the base, but this doesn't have a base. Ostensibly. Nice. Now the other side. Look at that smile. That's a smile only a Norn Queen could love, right, chat? Can you actually cast Symbiostorm on it? Yes. Symbiostorm, the only targeting restriction is that it has to be a Hive Fleet Kraken model. And you can just take it in a Hive Fleet Kraken attachment. Keep in mind, though, that if you are taking it in a super heavy auxiliary, which you have to do unless you're playing... I think you have to play a 2100 point game in order to take a standard super heavy detachment. It will not get the Hive Fleet Kraken sub-faction bonus. So it doesn't get to reroll its ones to hit when it stands still. It's still a Hive Fleet Kraken model, so any of your Hive Fleet specific buffs will affect it. But the sub-faction ability won't. The other thing is that outside of the it's going for a ride. The other thing is that outside of the Hive Fleet specific psychic powers, none of the Tyranid psychic powers are sub-faction restricted. So you can actually have, like, if you can play, this is true for most psychic powers, but you can play like a Kronos Patrol and then have like Catalyst in a Kraken Patrol or whatever, and then the Kraken caster can cast Catalyst on the Kronos guys. Yeah, so we are streaming to Twitch and YouTube right now, chat. So if you are seeing the little chat in the corner, that's the Twitch chat. But there's also we're also live on YouTube. So this is the first time I've done a painting stream to both. I usually just stream to Twitch. So if you're on YouTube right now and you're not on the Twitch, come hang out on the Twitch, twitch.tv/tacticaltortoisetv. That's where all of the gameplay goes. But because this is like the issue is that we run into technical issues if I multi-stream gameplay. I think because it has to be able to handle. I just didn't do the bottom half of his teeth. Let's do that in a sec. It has to handle the hosting of the game and then also 2 streams. But doing the painting doesn't seem like there's any real issues. So I may do painting streams to both in the future. I'm not sure. Don't tell Twitch I'm dual streaming. Yeah. I mean, everybody does it until they're like an affiliate, right? Or a partner. Whatever. I won't tell Twitch if you don't chat. How's that? There you go. Look at this handsome boy right here. What a guy. Can you send links with hobby projects? I don't know if the auto mod will stop you, but you can certainly try. And if it does stop you, then just put it in Discord and tell me, and then I'll post it. When is the Hierophant painting stream? I don't know if I'm gonna get a Hierophant, chat, to be fair. I have built and painted a Hierophant in the past. Not for my army. I did it for a commission ages and ages ago. That model is a fucking nightmare. Like, a Harridan is kind of funky. It's got, like, old school Forge World funk, where, like, its base is really small and it's kind of stupid and you have to brass rod it all. But a Hierophant doesn't have a base. And all of its legs attach separately to its body. So you just kind of have to wing it when you attach them. It's also impossible to transport if you don't magnetize it. So it's like, I don't know, the assembly process took like a month. It was insane. It was just, and I don't even think I put the little flesh hook talon things on it. So like, not only, and then in addition to that, I think, you know, there is a discussion to be had whether or not a Harridan can play successfully in a scorched or a short table edge or a long table edge deployment, a shallow deployment zone. Rules is written, they can, but some people rule differently. Whatever. Hierophant certainly cannot. That model is much too large for a shallow deployment zone. So you do, like, not only do you buy this expensive, annoying model that has the same weapon profile as a Harridan and costs 150 more points. It is more difficult to kill for sure, although it's not airborne, so realistically, maybe not. Yeah, it's just not good. I don't know. Yeah, so I ended up, the one that I built for a commission had a stand. It was like a tripod stand that would actually, it was pretty cool. It could seat, it had 3 like padded heads, and it could seat 1 underneath its chin and then 2 underneath its legs, and it all went down to a big base that like I modeled up with jungle terrain and all sorts of stuff. And then so you could remove the entire thing and you could play it, you know, without the base. It would fall apart if you did that, but it would all just sort of seat into this huge base. It was really cool. It was pretty cool. Hierophant used to be a Titan, now it's an 850 point super heavy. Only 850 points. 150 points less than or more than a Harridan. You could have a whole Harridan for 150 points less. Controversial discussion: is Forge World good for the game, or is it just giving us the ability to play super powered big colossal models? I don't I don't think it is, but I don't think the reason is that it gives you the ability to play super powered colossal models. That's the colossal models in the game are largely very bad. We were just talking in the Discord about the Seraptech construct, and that thing is garbage. Oh my god. It's if I remember correctly, it's 650 points, and it has some las cannons on it, and that's it. That's all it's got. It's a 5+ invulnerable save, and it's the defensive profile of like a Castellan, but it can't rotate ion shields. Like, what? What are you doing? It's just a garbage Castellan. Terrible. It does look sick though, chat. It's true. I mean, that thing is one of the coolest models in the game. So for the most part, Forge World stuff is terrible, and it having rules in the game doesn't really negatively affect the game in whatever way. The issue is all the little stuff that Forge World makes, because there's so many fucking Space Marine models in Imperial Armor Compendium. If every time they release new rules for it, one of them is broken, and somehow it's always the Relic Contemptor Dreadnought. I don't know how they keep doing that, but yeah, like either, you know, it used to be a Chaplain Dreadnought, then it was a Landspeeder Tempest, then it was a Relic Contemptor two different times, 2 different kinds of Relic Contemptors. It's like, can we not, please? So like, if we could never see a twin Volkite Culverin Dread again and I had to give up this idiot, I'd probably do that, yeah. So the issue is that like Forge World, at least in the past, has not been balanced next to the rest of the game, and I don't really think that's continued. I mean, like, it's much better than it was. There's a lot more stuff is playable rather than just like slapping 2,000 point cost on things that are equivalent to a knight. But the things that slip through are like a lot more deleterious to the game because IAC also doesn't get changed as often as other stuff does. Yeah, Custodes would be like a casualty of losing Forge World. That would suck for them if Forge World was deleted. But, like, you can, what's the word? Like, you can compensate for a lot of that. Like, a lot of that stuff you could just bring into a codex. Like, I think there's, I don't know, GW has like a, this compunction against putting Forge World and Plastic Kit profiles together, but like they could just do it. And it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Or you just make the models plastic, yeah. I mean, I don't know if they're making a Caladius Graph Tank plastic at any point, but I wouldn't be surprised if we got a plastic Telemon in the next Custodes thing. I guess the next Custodes book might just have a lieutenant in it, so that might not be great, actually. Got a Custodes lieutenant. Why? It's a little silly release for a faction. I guess it's like they're releasing a whole codex, so they'll get core keyword support and all that stuff. But it's a faction whose characters are like minimum 150 points. Like, when do they have costs for like a lieutenant in addition to a captain? You're just gonna bring Valoris, assuming his ability doesn't change. Where's your VIP badge? I'm pretty sure you're a VIP. You are a VIP. Very disappointing, Salad. I think you might have to enable the badge. I'm not sure. No, it's not a new Space Marine lieutenant. It's a new Custodes lieutenant. Is the rumor mill? So like they're getting a Custodes reroll ones to wound guy, but like, are you gonna cut a Vexillus Praetor for that guy? Like, I doubt it. This isn't this Adeptus Sororitas where a Palatine is 30 points or whatever, and you have lots of extra space. I did get, I mean, the rumors are abound about codexes beyond December's, and I guess Craft Worlds is like next on the list. And apparently, according to people who have allegedly talked to alleged playtesters, Tyranid's GSC is going to be like a lot like Drukhari, both in power level and playstyle, which doesn't sound fun, and I'm not excited for that. But that Craft World Eldar will be early next year and will be, I think, like, quote-unquote, the most broken thing the game's ever seen, which is going to be fun. Like, above AdMech level, they said. So I hope that person doesn't know what they're talking about and is lying. But we'll see. That'll be the real question. Are we going by 2 Xenos, 1 Chaos faction? That's just the rumor that I heard. It wasn't based on any of, like, the roadmap stuff. Craft World Eldari is the rumor. That's super duper broken, chat. Like, I mean, We had them for a little bit in what's the word, in 8th edition, being super broken with the expert crafter's armor spam, and we could see that return again, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, super good psychic powers, super good shooting. They also randomly make Eldar hard to kill sometimes, like by accident. They're like, oh, I don't know. You can stack 3 -1 to hit effects. Sure. And you're like, okay, so nobody can shoot me. Cool, sounds good. Stuff like that just happens, right? And like wave serpents, like just sort of generically, like here's a wave serpent that's -1 to hit and -1 damage. Woo. So like I could see them just accidentally like, oops, we did too many of that stuff, and then give it a sick, like incredible D3+3 damage gun or something. If Samham jet bikes are okay, consider collecting them. Yeah, when I got back in 2019, I very nearly started Eldari. I was sort of happy where I ended up because I already owned a Tyranid army, so I just started playing them, and I was like, oh, actually, this faction's sick, so I'll just keep doing that. But I was so close to buying Eldari because, I mean, I love the spells. I wish they weren't like 7s to cast with really awkward bonuses, but whatever. And I loved like the double moving. I loved the jet bikes, the hit and runs and stuff. All that stuff was really cool. Super duper broken using 25-year-old aspect warrior models. Yeah, hopefully a new Craft World rollout comes with new aspect warriors, because oh my god, that's embarrassing. Yeah, the scatter laser jet bikes were very good. I will agree. I mean, like mid 8th edition Eldari were like, oh my god, why do I keep dripping this stuff? God damn it, chat. I dripped some wash on me. But yeah, I'm like mid 8th edition Eldari were super good, right? Like we had flyer spam was legit. The like gunline bike style was legit. There were like a bunch of really good types of armies you could play. So maybe I guess like I'm biased because I played Kraken in 8th edition, but like I almost bootsed like every Eldar Flyer player I played. I played Eldar Flyers in my first tournament game of 40k. Against Eldar Flyers, I should say. And I'm sorry to say that I would have won the game if it wasn't an Eternal War fucking tournament. Why did I go to that in hindsight? What the hell? And it was the one Eternal War mission that had Killmore. Like, I was crushing him on primaries. He was just killing all my models, but he could score on Killmore, so I lost by like 4 points or something. And I think I ended up losing that player the tournament because he couldn't score very highly against me because I wouldn't let him like get any objectives. It was very silly. Yeah, Tyranids was multiple units of Gene Stealers. Like really, that was you played shooty Hive Tyrants more often. You played the Devourer ones because like infantry was just generically better in 8th edition than it is in 9th. Like light infantry, like 5-up save dudes, and the Devourer Hive Tyrants would just like they would deep strike in and just kill 20 models or whatever. That was pretty cool. But yeah, the rest of the list was like, you saw most of the same stuff. Like Hive Guard were still around. They were very good. There's something crawling on my Harridan. That's gross. I guess he's found a friend. Oh yeah, there you go. This is like a little bug. Get out of there. Yikes. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, so like Hive Guard were still around. You would see them. Exocrines weren't a thing until Psychic Awakening came out when they got buffed. But like it was, the list I played was like 60 Gene Stealers, Hive Guard, Swarmlord, double Hive Tyrant, and then some other stuff, some support stuff. Usually Venom Tropes. But yeah, like you would just like run 60 Gene Stealers at directly whatever the flyer player had on the ground, and like they had to play a perfect flyer screen, otherwise you would just kill their stuff. And you could sub into, there was a warlord trait, or there still is, it exists, you can still take it, but there's a warlord trait that makes you ignore hit penalties, hit modifiers on your attacks for a Hive Tyrant. So you could have a Hive Tyrant, like a shooty kitted Hive Tyrant, that was actually okay at killing Eldar Planes. You would have to like pathogenic slime and then roll kind of good, but if you executed the combo, it could be killing a plane a turn. The awkward part about planes wasn't necessarily that like they did a ton of damage or were super hard to kill. It was that they could always shoot whatever they wanted to. And so like they would always kill the thing that was most dangerous to them immediately as soon as it like committed itself. Don't really see the point of Eternal War. It's the same complexity as GT but without the balance updates. Yeah, so we were talking about Eternal War in the 8th edition. The 8th edition incarnation, which was very different. That was, I guess, ostensibly kind of the default mission structure for 40k. Like if you weren't playing a tournament that was using like ITC format, which was a fan created thing, you were probably playing Eternal War, or you were playing Maelstrom of War, which was a random mess that nobody liked, except some people. I don't know. I don't understand it. But that was like basically those were the missions that were essentially in the core rulebook. I think they were listed in the core rulebook. The Eternal War format now is, yeah, makes no sense. It's just GT with extra steps and is less balanced. I'm not sure anyone plays the Eternal War format right now, unless they're playing a format that isn't supported by GT. So like Combat Patrol uses Eternal War missions because there's no GT missions for Combat Patrol. Oh no, but that's it, to my knowledge. Am I wearing a mini wargaming shirt? No. I'm wearing a Breachstorm shirt. This is a game I designed myself. And I ran several Kickstarters for it. Unfortunately, quarantine kind of mucked with our operations, and it hasn't really picked up steam again since then. But it's still on the back burner as a project. The website's still live. If anybody wants to check it out, it's breachstorm.com. It's a miniatures game. There's a line of miniatures. There's also a bunch of like pre-release rules for miniatures that we didn't end up making. But it's like a super quick sci-fi skirmish game. It takes like 60 minutes to play, and it's like 7 to 10 models a side. It plays on a 3x3. It's really cool. I played it on the channel a bunch, actually. There's a bunch of Breachstorm battle reports on the channel that are on TTS from over quarantine. And then if you go, there's a Breachstorm YouTube channel as well that's linked in my in the YouTube channel. So if you go to the Tactical Tortoise YouTube channel and you go to the bottom where the channel links are, the Breachstorm channel is also linked there, so you can go check it out. It's pretty small, but there's like some full gameplay from tournaments we ran at conventions. There's like tutorial videos that I mostly made. So if you want to learn about it, it's all there. But that's what my shirt's of. So basically, I wrote a game and I got some shirts out of it, which was pretty cool. JX Colt, thanks for hanging out, man. I hope Harridan eats some things this weekend too. I should be playing him on stream on Thursday also. So if anybody wants to come hang out, that's on Twitch. So if you're on YouTube, then come hang out on Twitch, twitch.tv/tacticaltortoisetv. Getting all this washing done. This is like this feels like a lot of work for a part of this model that no one's ever going to see. At least I can, when people ask what I did today, I can be like, oh, I did my washing. You know? That's a good accomplishment, right? Need some kind of tally on his body for each HQ. Yeah, let me tell you, this guy is super good at killing characters. Like, randomly, really good at it. I mean, it's because he has a 6 damage melee attack. So, like, usually through a 4+ invulnerable save, after you flub hits and wounds, you get, like, 2 to 3 wounds through, which means a 4+ invulnerable save should fail 1, and then you hit them for 6, and then they just fucking die. So... he's really good at killing HQs. It's more impressive when he one-shots like Titanic units, but it's definitely more consistent that he kills little guys. Is there a fasting method? Like you mean a faster method? Like washing the whole area and then wiping the excess off the top? So what we're doing now is I don't want to wash the whole thing and then do the excess, because what I'm going to do is end up highlighting everything. So the excess that's not in the crevices shouldn't really matter. But what we're trying to do is specifically get the wash in the crevices to make the lights and the darks a little bit more contrasting. I don't think contrasty is a word. So that's what's going on there. But then also stuff like the joint between the ribs and this sector section, I want to wash that because I want to be able to highlight it afterwards too. So like I'm also using it to pick out some of the details. So I don't think doing the whole thing and then wiping it would be quite the same effect. Basically, I just want to make sure it's concentrated in the places I want to be, so it creates that, like, those effective shadows. I think he's coming out pretty good, though. We're really just getting down to a couple layers of highlights on the main body and some touch-ups on the carapace, and then I think we're basically done with this part anyway. Thoughts on the new 1000 Suns? So I'm gonna be honest, I'm slow on the uptake, and I have not read the 1000 Suns Codex. From what I've seen, they seem super cool and also super powerful. I'm not sure that they're the level of, like, the more recent Codex releases. I think they're going to be a little bit more balanced because they're very focused and, like, they have a couple things to do, shooting stuff, and then it's all shooting mind bullets at people, which is a very good game plan, but also a very straightforward game plan. So it's not like, you know, this isn't AdMech, right? We aren't just shooting 1,000 million range attacks at people and killing them. But the stuff that I've seen is like, whoa! I watched somebody shoot like 8 damage onto a Contemptor Dreadnought the other day with a Sorcerer, and I was like, fuck. Don't point that thing at me, please. So, like, yeah, they seem sweet. I don't know. There's been a lot of people at my local stores who are, like, coming out of the woodwork playing them. Because I think the game plan is much more interesting than the new Grey Knights. I saw a guy... So, when I was playing Armada this weekend, I watched some games, and there was a guy there playing Thousand Suns with a very cool sort of modern Thousand Suns army, all the blue and gold, and then he had a bunch of like neon green for magic-y bits, and it looked great. The contrast was really good. And then I also saw a guy with a 30k sort of Horusy era Thousand Suns, so the red and the gold and all of the tassels and the ribbons and the, you know, little litanies and mantras or whatever that they stuck on their armor. Or papyri, I guess, because they're kind of Egyptian themed. I was like, whoa! So both of those armies looked great. And let me tell you, I would play Thousand Suns, I think. I have a Grey Knights army, but I'm like, this new codex is so meh. But just, I think the Cabal point mechanic is very interesting and dynamic. I'm worried that, like, it's like Adeptus Mechanicus. There may be a little bit of cognitive load in the faction. Like, they do a lot of stuff in the psychic phase. And it looked to me like people were getting a little bit kind of overloaded. But, I don't know. That could have just been anecdotal. Bloody teeth? Well, I haven't washed the teeth, chat. So, I haven't washed or highlighted, so the teeth are just kind of there. They do look bad right now, for sure. Let him bite my arm. Here you go, little guy. Just a little nibble. Oh my god. What were some of my best and or worst 40k tournament experiences? Well, there's this man, this fabled gentleman, a myth, some would say, who's known only by the name of Necron Guy, who's like a legend in the area, who's just like this total turd bag of a human, and he generates consistently the worst tournament experiences. My favorite story, my favorite Necron Guy story, is that in one I think it was my second or maybe third tournament I'd ever played in. And I played him round 1, and it was 8th edition. I went for a quad chain with a Genestealer unit, so that means there's 4 Genestealers in a row. The first one's base to base with you can't really see there, whatever. There's a Tyranid in my way. The first one is base to base with the model that I'm attacking. The next one is within an inch of the model I'm attacking because they're base to base, which means this one is within an inch of this one, and this one is within an inch of this one right there. So you can attack with all 4 of them. And so I attacked with 4, and he said, oh, you can only attack with 3 ranks. And I was like, well, you can't, because let me tell you about how math works. And he called the judge on me. Because he said that you could not... he called the judge on me because I told him that 25 millimeters, which is the size of a Genestealer base, is shorter than an inch, which is true. It's like 0.98 inches, which means that if 2 models are base to base, or 3 models are base to base with each other, the first one is within an inch of the thing that is or the third one is within an inch of the first one, basically. And he threw a fucking hissy fit. So that was my favorite story because it was just like so unbelievably stupid. But he's just like every time I play him, like I get paired with him all the time for some fucking reason, and he's just literally the worst human to play against. And that just sucks. Like 40k already is kind of a stressful experience on a tournament level because you like never know when you're gonna get into a stupid shitty argument with somebody about like stupid 40k rules. Like we were on a painting stream this weekend and somebody was like, in my last 2 games, my opponents fought with me over how lookouts are worked. And this poor dude is just trying to play his game of 40k and he's like explaining to his opponent how lookouts are works and they're yelling at him. Like, what the fuck? And so that's compounded when someone is just a total douche nozzle on top of it. So that sucks. My best 40k experience? That's a good question. I do like winning tournaments with Tyranids. It's always fun. I played... I was at a GT at one point and I played a very good player I played Pat McEnany, who is a very prolific GT player. He's won several GTs and he's kind of the, like, you know, when you're leveling up in a game and you're like getting better at it and you have like members of the community who are like your mini bosses. And at least this happens to me sometimes where it's like, there's people I can't beat. I have a tough time playing against them until I can. And then like you get to the point where you can contend with them on a tactical level, and I was playing them in just this GT, and I won, and I was like, fuck yeah. It was a super good game. Tyranids versus Ultramarines, and that was old school Roboot Gilliman Ultramarines. So it was really tough for Tyranids. And he played a super cool list. He always played this list that was, he plays super well, right? So he's kind of one of those people. He only plays Space Marines, like various versions of Space Marines, and he just plays whatever he wants, but like super duper well. And he played this list that was based on old school veteran bikers, who in the 8th edition Space Marine Codex, or the OG 8th edition Space Marine Codex, this was pre Space Marine Redux, could take Storm Bolters and Storm Shields in addition to the twin bolter that was on their bike. And then with full rerolls off of a Reboot Gilliman, these things were fucking insane, dude. He would just just casually shoot tanks to death with just like 20 of these guys. Each of them shoots 8 attacks because they're bikes, so they full distance their rapid fires. Each of them shoots 8 times, so like 20 of them shooting, 160 attacks with rerolls to hit and wound. I was like, whoa, this list is sick. And then you engage them in melee, and they're all 3 attacks each with full rerolls because they're Space Marine bike veterans. Super cool. Oh, wow. I just totally... I got lost in my storytelling. There's so many chats now. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good is Orc Buggy spam? 10 is 6 Ed Grey Knights. 1 is 3rd Ed Chaos. I don't know those metrics, but I would say probably like a 7 or an 8 maybe. Like, on a scale of using only 9th edition codexes, on a scale of Gene Stealer Cult to Adeptus Mechanicus, they're like an 8. They're like a Drukari, I guess. Lifelight, do I have a link to some list ideas I like? Is that in... what kind of list ideas are you looking for? Because I'm sure that I do. Next Toy Story, kid starts collecting Warhammer and it's an R-rated movie. He starts collecting Warhammer and then the next day the Warhammer shelf is just covered in like what's the word? Like just a fine dust of plastic. It's like when you've been sanding down your plastic, like your mold lines for a really long time. He doesn't have any Warhammer models, and they've all just vaporized each other. Yeah, chat. Yeah, the rules dominance like doesn't really work, because the issue is that like he doesn't win rules arguments. He just engages in rules arguments to tilt you, and that's it. Like that's the whole. That's the that's the game essentially. So like I played against him in a tournament. I tweeted about it actually because it was like just a fucking miserable experience. I was like I was paired up against him and I was like, motherfucker. I thought I had been safe because our scores were really wide, but like just because of how the pairings matched up randomly, I got paired against him, although I was like 20 points higher than him or something wild. And I was just like, oh my god, I have to deal with this. So like already, I mean that's probably personal bias because I've had like previous experience. Like already I tilted out, but then like literally as I'm playing through my turn, he's fucking yelling that my army's broken. Like full on yelling. You know, it's not like you can just and like the we had called the judge over for other stuff. The judge or the tournament organizer, this is an RTT. So it's not like there's official judges or anything. It's like right there and they're like buddies and they're like chatting or whatever. And like while he's just like shouting about my army, it was like, whoa. Yeah, it's wild. Yeah. So like, and I mean, there were multiple instances where like he would call bullshit on something and be like, you can't do that. That's fucking cheating. And I'd be like, no, here it is in the rule book. And we'd call the judge and the judge would be like, yeah, that's how that works. You know, it's like how Trevi said, whoa, what a shocker. And then, he'd be like, oh, well, that's stupid. But then he would like go back to yelling about like how his army's terrible and how his dice are terrible and how my army's broken and how I'm like, I'm fucking playing Tyranids right here, dude. What do you want from me? Like, yeah, I don't know. It was, that was playing that guy is just terrible. So now if I go to RTTs, I make sure that I'm not with, that guy's not in the event. And if they are, then I try to see if I can not get paired up with him until that's possible. Yeah, just miserable. Anyway, we're gonna stop talking about Necron Guy. We're gonna talk about fun stuff. Lifelight, anything NIDS. I have some units, but a lot of options fairly new to 40k. Yeah, so I have a video. Let me grab it for you and post it, where I talk about the. I opened a Twitch window. We want a YouTube window, where I talk about 9th edition Tyranids. It's a little outdated because it's from the start of 9th edition, but it gives you a good place to start, I think. I wouldn't necessarily take it as gospel. Here it is. Because it is a little old, but I think it's a good place to look to get going. Here we go. I just posted it in for you there, Lifelight. So I check out that video. I talk about like playing a gunline style. There's a lot of stuff that holds true. I think a lot of the notes that I have on like psychic powers and some secondary objective stuff like that is pretty much the same. I would not. Yeah, it's probably fine. I don't necessarily like swear by double hive guard as much as I do now anymore. And I don't really play warriors quite as much, but you can play those things. Those are fine. So yeah, I think that video is a pretty good place to get going, and then you can kind of build out from there. I think like to start with, you probably want, if you're looking to build a collection, you want Swarmlord, you want Hive Guard, you want Gene Stealers. I like to have a second Hive Tyrant, either as a smashy guy or more like support caster guy, and then you can kind of build out whichever direction you want from there. Looking in the eye into Liberty, put earplugs on. Yeah. I mean, maybe I should just bring like Bluetooth headphones in the future and just like, we're listening to some music there, bud. You can do whatever. Is there anything that would make the new GSC book that would make me think about allying them in? I don't know. I think if they're like, yeah, it really did. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe if like mining lasers are really powerful again. You know, if we see like the buggy list survive and get sub-faction traits, maybe that list might come back. But like their infantry is good, but it's not really anything that Tyranids can't already do. Maybe like if hand flamer bombs are really good or something, I don't know. It gives you an answer to like Admech Skitarii. So I guess those are like the options. Like if like mining laser buggy spam's good again, or if they have like some really powerful anti-infantry options that are like can like deep strike. Although you get hit by intercept if you deep strike. Actually, I'm thinking about it now. So maybe not actually. Seems like a good way to lose 20 Acolyte hybrids. Do Tyrant Guard protect the Swarmlord? Yes. The Swarmlord is Hive Tyrant keyworded. So you can definitely pass wounds from Swarmlord to Hive Guard. 100%. Because it's only looking for the keyword. It's not looking for the datasheet title. I have a friend I used to know in War Machine. He's a really good Tyranid player. Any advice on how to pick up Tyranids and be better than him? What's up, Tau Dark? I think, so there's this guy on YouTube called Trevi. Just listen to all of his advice. He's better than whatever this, I'm sure he's better than whatever this War Machine playing friend you have is. Who would play War Machine and then also be good at 40k? Those are different games. You can't be good at both. It's impossible. Although I'm terrible at War Machine now, I bet. There was a Twitter thread. Somebody was, I think the Privateer Press Twitter account was posting like, a new insider article or whatever. Like, what do you think we'll see? And people are like asking for 4th edition War Machine. And I was like, would an edition switch over get me back into that game? I don't know. Maybe. I have no idea. Probably not. I think I would certainly consider it though. I would love War Machine to be good again. All right. The wash is still wet here, so I'm not sure if we want to go over that again. So we're now waiting for washes to dry, chat. I think we might end up cutting the stream here momentarily. I'll do some more coats on the little claws, and then we'll cut the stream. So if anybody has any extra, and anybody has any input, now's the time. Nice thing about 40k is the lasting community through the ages. That's definitely that's the selling point of 40k for sure. For better or for worse, 40k definitely seems to survive. I think in some instances I would rather see that happen to a game that was more well designed and had a better custodian company, but you know, it is what it is. If we're talking about alternate games to play, I've really been tempted to try Malifaux since the local store sells it. Yeah, I have a, there's some locals at my store playing Malifaux. They're very excited to like get back in. I know they have, one of my locals is very into that game. And he was like back in the day. He was one of the people who got me into War Machine, but he had, at that point was already into like super into Malifaux. And he was like, this game is the greatest game ever. And he kept trying to get people in, but like, I personally like don't love the aesthetics, and the game itself seems like there's sort of a, it definitely feels like there could be a cognitive load issue. I already have like I have a natural suspicion of alternating activation games because they tend to compound mistakes really hard, which makes the game kind of really, what's the word? Really difficult to like really punishing. That's the word. Super punishing to play. And especially if you compound that with like a billion different characters that all have like wildly different, super impactful abilities. That's like a recipe for disaster, and that's exactly what Malifaux looks like. And then there's like you add onto that like hidden information mechanics and stuff like that, where you have to like think about stuff, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know about this. So I'm like, personally, I don't really have an interest in Malifaux. It does look like one of the most interestingly designed games, for sure. Like there's definitely a lot of design thought in it, which I appreciate, but I don't know if it's for me. How did you end up with the commission painting gigs? I used to do that when I was in college. Literally, basically end of high school all the way through, most of the way through college, I was doing commission painting until I was working full time. And it paid for my gas or whatever. But, like, literally, I started doing it in high school. One week, I took some ads out on Bell of Lost Souls, of all places. And that, like, talk about, like, a different age. That was, like, enough to get me on the radar to, like, keep some repeat customers, like, so that I was working pretty consistently. Not sure it's as easy now. But it was, like... my startup costs were like whatever paint I already had, and then $200 worth of ads or something. Pretty wild. I don't really do that anymore though. I'm very burnt on time between content and my regular day job, and then also playing games. Last question: why does Ashley keep getting into my pods? It's not fun. Because she's a patron and she gets into whatever pod she wants, which is almost all of them. Town Dark, does Harridan get a scenic base? He does. I think it's in my case right now. It's very small. The running joke about Harridans is that their base is 2.5 by 3.5 inches. So literally the base is about this big for a model this big. It's about 4 times that big. So the base is minuscule, and then it slots in. You can see it as long as I don't get paint on my hands. It slots into the slot right here, and I actually bored a hole so we can. It's brass rotted, so it slips in and out. So that's pretty good. And also we have the tail here. The tail is completed painting. So this is what the remainder of the carapace is going to look like. It gets a black wash on the underside bits, but there he is with the tail. Very large model, Harridan. Woo! There he goes. Good stuff. All right. Well, I think we will go ahead and call it there. But thanks, everybody, for hanging out. I think the multi-stream went well so far, so I hope everyone on YouTube had a good time. Over on Twitch, we're going to be raiding somebody, so who's going to do that? Anybody on Warhammer today? So yeah, we'll peace out of the stream in a sec. Not a lot of Warhammer Live today. Anybody playing? That's the first question. No. Sad. Oh, there's another Harridan getting painted. All right, well, we have to go there. Paint and Play, who we actually, I think, rated earlier because she was painting a Harridan. We're back. All right, sounds good. Well, all right, so we'll continue with the Harridan memes. Let's go. All right, see you everybody in a bit. I'm going to be live Thursday at about this time. That's 1900 EST. So come hang out on Thursday. I'm going to be playing a Harridan game versus Raze from the Discord versus play Necrons. It's a very interesting Necron list, very tank and Catan centric. But that should be an interesting matchup, so I'm excited to do it. Anyway, cheers everybody. See you later.